Hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay, Pontius, and I've patched a life together for myself. Started out as an actor and theater performer and theater director, and then ended up falling in love and remembering a love for horses, and so had this farm that wasn't making any money. I chose all non-money-making things to put together. And then the next thing that makes total sense is education, right? No money in all three of those. But so much that has filled me and connected me to this planet. And I'm full of questions right now. I wish I had been walking with you, Matt. I mean, nice. Full of questions right now about how we as human beings be as humans. And I'm thinking that theater might be working now with a bunch of adults who actually want to try to act and understand what it means. That maybe there is something about the theater that can offer us a way to be. And so full of questions about why now? So I'm going to read this. This is about when at one point in my life, I started doing preschool teacher trainings at my horse farm. And because I had this idea that horses were teaching me how to be more of a human, and so I decided to do something with horses, and it started with teachers, and then it became veterans struggling with PTSD. But what is it that they have to teach us or tell us? So,
Can you read the title?
Yes, it's called, the title's great. Somebody came up with that. Relationships Matter, Lessons from a Half-Ton Teacher. He came up with that part, yeah. When the bus filled with teachers pulled into my barnyard and the teachers began to understand that they had arrived at a horse farm, there was general excitement. A few who had bad experiences with horses in their youth groaned. One, named Sue, was overwhelmed with fear and fell to the ground in a heap of tears. She refused to enter the barn and remained outside as her colleagues greeted the horses stall by stall. I stayed with Sue and let her know that the day's activities were challenged by choice. She could participate or simply observe as she felt willing. Sue stood in the paddock where she could watch her colleagues take turns grooming a few horses in the rustic converted cow barn. Occasionally, she diverted her gaze toward the pastures and the sweeping vistas of Vermont's Green Mountains and the stretches of Lake Champlain. There was a clear blue sky with a slight breeze on that warm September day. Many have commented over the years on how the setting encourages a sense of peace, helping visitors to relax and to be present with the animals. After a while, Sue tentatively joined two other teachers while they groomed a dozing horse. I admired her bravery and curiosity as she brushed through her fears. Neither Sue nor I had any idea of the courageous act she would attempt later in that afternoon. But by the end of the day, we would all learn about a horse's capacity to teach us how to be even more and even better humans. For more than 40 years, I've had horses in my life. Mostly my horses are pets and partners. But I've always wanted to share with other humans the wisdom and gifts that the horses offer day by day and year by year. Now I use my herd to give workshops to groups such as veterans and educators about the profound experience of linking nurturing with nature. Sue and 16 other teachers had come to an in-service day they called Staff Mystery Fun Day, an annual event for the staff of a nearby children's center. They would board a bus in the morning, only the driver and the center director would know where they were headed and what they would be doing that day. This day, after they groomed horses and learned some leading techniques, the participants joined me in the arena for a team-building obstacle course to be navigated while blindfolded. There were no horses present for this activity. Everyone was quite game to play, and they took great care of each other. By then, Sue was laughing and cheering on her companions. Teaming up with an emotionally sensitive horse. During the lunch break, the teachers were divided into teams of 4 or 5. I assigned each team a horse. There was Team Pride, Team Yuli, and Team Hannah. I gave each team a picture of their horse and a description of the horse's challenges and behaviors. They were to read the information and strategize about how they might establish a relationship with their horse and take on the challenges of moving with the horse through an equine obstacle course. Sue asked, "Who will be blindfolded, us or the horse?" I assured everyone for this there would be no blindfolding. The teachers immediately engaged with the challenge. As they planned their approach, I visited each group, urging them to consider safety first for the horses and for the humans. They were to think about what success meant, given their horse's particular biography. They could use a halter and a lead rope. They could use carrots, rubs and scratches, praise, and the signals that I had taught them earlier in the day, such as come forward, back up, or turn your hindquarters away. Sue was on Team Hannah. Hannah's bio read, Hannah is a high-energy, sensitive horse. Her response to fearful stimulus is to snort, puff herself up, her fur literally stands on end, and then she runs back and forth, facing and roaring at the scary object or situation. She wants to trust humans and accept their leadership so she can be part of their herd, but emotions can get the best of her. When I first met Hannah, she'd been kept in a round pen for a day and a half with no food or water. Her owner at the time used the round pen treatment to tire her out and get her to stop running and puffing. The owner had tied several plastic bags that blew in the air to the rails of the pen, incorrectly believing this would desensitize Hannah and calm her down. It just made her continue to freak out. While it has taken lots of patience on my part and lots of deep breaths, Hannah has learned to accept and trust humans. Success, knowing when to quit. The obstacle course included 2 8-foot poles to back up between, a small jump, a station where the teams had to experiment with a proximity to the horse with a large yoga ball, an umbrella, and a plastic tarp, which could be introduced to the horse. All of these are potentially upsetting to my equine friends. Success would come from reading the horse and knowing when to quit. The umbrella doesn't have to open over the horse's head, the ball doesn't have to bounce off her back, and the tarp does not need to be walked upon to complete the course. Sue was brimming with ideas, and she met with her team. The strategies included using the language of touch to encourage Hannah to trust them. I reminded them just getting Hannah to the arena might be cause for celebration. Team Hannah blew everyone away. The team spent at least 30 minutes grooming Hannah. She emerged shiny and proud. They all placed their hands on her body as they walked her to the arena. Hannah swaggered with the confidence of a Hollywood star surrounded by her entourage. She was relaxed. Her strides were long and rhythmic. Her eyelids fluttered slightly over a soft focus. Each member took the lead to an obstacle. She smoothly backed through the poles and gently jumped the little cavaletti jump. Traveling to each obstacle, is that right? Yes. Traveling to each obstacle, Sue remained on Hannah's left side between her nose and her shoulder and looked like a bodyguard. When they reached the umbrella, Sue held it out while Hannah sniffed it. Sue flapped it a little. The second she sensed any tension, she retreated, and Hannah let out a little sigh and did a lick and chew. Licking and chewing is what horses do as foals to ask their mothers for milk. In an adult horse, a lick and a chew is a form of agreement or understanding. Sue seemed to read all the signs, and she and Hannah were truly in communication. When it was time for Sue to lead Hannah to the tarp, I held my breath. Hannah slowed her step and tensed her brow, her eyes wide open, her breath held and then Sue walked out ahead of her onto the tarp and sat down. The team had decided not to use treats. Hannah sniffed, then pawed the tarp. Sue patted the tarp from her seated position, and Hannah walked directly to Sue and dropped her head in Sue's lap. Sue began to weep. I think we all did. But Hannah just hung with Sue as the team came close. Sue got up and they led the horse off the tarp and through the gate back to the barn. After the retreat, the Children's Center staff sent me a scrapbook with pictures and quotes documenting their day at the farm. Pinned in the center was a handwritten note from Sue. She described the personal issues she'd been going through at the time and explained how she'd been facing enormous burnout as a teacher. She was planning to take a leave from the center. But after her deeply meaningful encounter with Hannah, things turned around for her. She felt transformed physically, emotionally, and creatively. She wrote, "I felt proud that I had been a part in helping her succeed and overcome her fears. I now know that I'm a great teacher, and I still have that passion, and I feel confident that I will accomplish all the goals I have set for myself. I thank Hannah for giving me back what I thought I had lost. I now know that I'm a great teacher," said Sue. I know from my years of experience leading these workshops that the immediacy of communicating with a 1,000-pound animal brings our humanity and compassion to the fore. Educators worry about helping children in the classroom learn to self-regulate, but all the self-help articles, the social-emotional learning websites, the sterile classroom walls covered with color-coded pictures of plastic cards reminding students to be courageous, consider empathy, or practice active listening won't take the place of creating a relationship between teacher and student, human to human. It's the gift of reciprocity, like the one Sue and Hannah had, the gift of being all in, full of agreement and understanding on this small patch of earth. Thank you.